Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark Dirks, and on behalf of ACRL and Choice, I'd like to welcome you to today's program, Start with Better Options, Making the Most of Choice Reviews. Today's discussion is one in a series of webinars from ACRL and Choice that addresses new ideas, developments, and products of interest to the academic library community. Free to users, these structured 60-minute live presentations provide the opportunity for interactive discussions of important new issues and developments in academic librarianship by librarians, vendors, authors, and other interested stakeholders. Before we get started, I'd like to point out a few features of the webinar software. In the main area of the screen, you can follow along with the presentation materials. Along the left-hand side, you will see a chat panel that you can use to submit questions or comments. We will spend some time responding to your questions during the program, so please feel free to submit those throughout. You will also see a separate box for technical questions. Please feel free to use this feature for any technical difficulties you may be experiencing, so our production team can troubleshoot them privately. And finally, please note that today's program will be recorded, and all registrants will receive follow-up instructions on how to access the archived version. Our speaker today is Mark Cummings, the editor and publisher of Choice. Mark has worked in academic and educational publishing for almost 30 years, beginning his career in the reference and professional books division at Macmillan and continuing at Scribner's and Oxford University Press. In the early 1990s, he joined Grolier Publishing Company as editor-in-chief of the Encyclopedia Americana and went on to become vice president and publisher of Grolier's reference division. Over a 10-year period, Cummings built an online business that reached millions of students in the United States and overseas. Since 2000, he has concentrated on educational technology, first at Scholastic and then at Weekly Reader, where, as Vice President for Business Development, he focused on creating new reference and literacy products for the school and library markets. Cummings holds a BA from Michigan State University, along with an MA and MPhil degrees from Yale University in East Asia-related fields. As editor and publisher of Choice, he provides ongoing strategic direction for the editorial, marketing, advertising, and production of a suite of print and digital products. At this point, we're all ready to get started, so I will turn the floor over to you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Hello, everybody. And again, welcome to today's webinar, A User's Guide to the New Choice Reviews. I'm Mark Cummings, the editor and publisher at Choice, as you already know, and I'd like to thank you all for taking the time from your schedules to attend today's presentation. I'd also like to extend a special thanks to the patient users of CR03, whose comments and especially forbearance have helped us develop this new and, we think, vastly improved version of our database. And finally, for you Francophiles in the audience, happy Bastille Day. The new Choice Reviews launched on May 23rd, and I'm guessing that many of you have not spent much time using the new version. So today's webinar is a how-to session designed to introduce you to the basic functions of the service. Although I'm assuming that most of you are familiar with Choice in either its print or its earlier online forms, I'd like to take a moment here at the start to introduce Choice to those of you who are not. Choice began in 1964, that's about 52 years ago, as a monthly publication devoted to reviewing new scholarly monographs for collection development librarians in academic libraries. That function, of course, persists to this day, although our reviews now cover databases, websites, and ebooks. Collection development librarians use Choice to identify books to acquire and also to identify books to preserve or discard as collections are weeded. Each year, our editorial staff examines over 25,000 titles, most of them physical books that are shipped to our office, and selects anywhere from 6,000 to 7,000 of them to be reviewed. Our reviews are written by subject area experts chosen from a pool of about 3,200 active reviewers. Fundamentally, then, Choice is a tool. From the 1960s through the 1980s, it appeared solely in print, and because of that, it was easy for all of us to think of it as a journal. But if you consider its content and its structure, it's clear that it's actually a database with information presented in discrete, regular fields that can be searched and ordered using various criteria. This month, the number of records in our database comes to some 195,500 reviews, about 50 million words that date from 1988 when we began to digitize our collection up until the present. If you look at it this way, Choice is not simply a selection tool for collection development librarians. It's also a bibliographic database, and it can be used by librarians at the reference desk. And I saw just before we started that about 22% of you were reference librarians. And also by students and faculty to rapidly identify sources for research projects, term papers, course development, and so forth. In other words, you don't have to be a librarian to use it. Best of all, reviews now appear in the database as they are completed in real time, rather than being held for batching in a physical issue, as has been the case up until about May of this year. This digital-first methodology means that some reviews will appear in the database as much as 3 months earlier than they do in our print version. What I'd like to do now then is to spend some time introducing you to the basic functionality of the new Choice reviews, how to create an account, how to search and browse, and how to save and share your work. The good news here is that this is really simple to use, much easier than its predecessor. I'm not going to be able to cover all the functions in the database today, but the elements that I do discuss will probably account for about 90% of the most commonly used functions. And I'd also like to apologize in advance for using screenshots rather than live webcast. I have been told that running a website on this platform can be problematic, so I took the safer way and I actually made a lot of screenshots, which I will show to you now. So, let's get started by creating an account. The fact of the matter is, if you're a librarian at a subscribing institution, you don't need a personal account to use Choice Reviews in its basic functionality. You can search and browse it without actually logging in. Authentication is by IP address, so as long as you're inside the network at a subscribing institution, you can type www.choicereviews.org. And we have on the bottom of each page there, we have the URL, and run the search. However, if you want to personalize your results in any way, and I'm sure that most of you do, by creating a list, for instance, you'll need to create a personal account. That's easy enough to do. From inside your university network, go to www.choicereviews.org, click Create Account in the Login dropdown, enter your email address, a username, your name, a password, and the password again, and click Create Account. Now, using that username and password, you can log into the service from any device connected to the internet anywhere in the world simply by entering your username and password. By the way, if you're not inside your institutional network this first time, you can't create an account. If you attempt to access the service from outside your network and you don't have an account yet, the system will assume you want to set up a free trial, like this. So assuming your institution is a subscriber, my strong recommendation is that you create your personal account as soon as this webinar is over. Okay, you've set up your personal account and you're ready to use the system. Let's look first at the home screen. The home screen is designed to be a visually attractive front page for the database. Here again, you don't really need to use it, but it has a few features on it worth taking note of. First of all, the 4 major review subject areas: humanities, reference, science and technology, and the social sciences are represented on a carousel at the top of the screen. If you click on any one of these, it will filter the reviews in Choice Reviews so that you see only, in this case, social and behavioral sciences. Below that are some prepackaged searches. Same thing here. You click on the icon to identify all the reference titles, outstanding academic titles, works that our editors have classified as essential to your library, community works recommended for community colleges. This is a new feature in Choice Reviews. We just started it about 10 or 11 months ago. reviews that have been posted over the last 30 days for the very newest reviews, and interdisciplinary subjects. Below that are the editor's picks. And these are really nothing more than timely and interesting works that the editors have chosen purely on a subjective basis to bring your attention to titles they think are worthwhile. At the top of every page is a persistent navigation bar, which you're perfectly familiar with from other applications. And this allows you quick access to the reviews, for instance, arranged by topic. Here are the topics again. Articles, Ask an Archivist, forthcoming titles, the publisher's letter, a link to our bibliographic essays, the University Press Forum, etc. Next to that is lists, which I'm going to skip for the moment and come back to in a moment. And next to that is your account. And by clicking on any of these options here, you can change your password and otherwise manage your account. Finally, the question mark takes you to the Quick Start Guide, which is a basic introduction to the functionality of the system and covers in a bit more detail than we are covering today the functionality and the issues that we're talking about. And of course, there's the search box, which you already know how to use. Type in a search term and click enter, and you've run a search. By the way, if you enter more than one word in the search box, the engine will automatically use OR as the default Boolean operator. So if you want an exact phrase, be sure to enclose the string in quotation marks, as I've done here, gene expression. I'm not sure how clear that is now that I'm looking at it here, but essentially quotation marks around an exact string. Okay, so you've run your search. Now let's take a look at the search results page. Actually, the search results page has multiple functions. From it, you can search, filter, read reviews, create lists, and so forth. In fact, most of the major functions of choice reviews can be performed right here. On the left-hand side are the facets. We have the facets for subject here, also for readership level, recommendation level, recent reviews, format, book or a website, outstanding academic titles, and titles recommended for the community colleges. In our current search, up here, we've typed Rousseau. Okay, we want the political thinker, not the artist, so I've checked the facet for political theory here on the left. When you do so, or when I do so, the elements of the search that I have specified appear, including both the search term and the filters, are shown here at the top of the page. Our developers call this the cloud tag, but you and I simply call it a search string. When you run a search or apply a filter, the number of results is displayed right here. This is very tedious. As you can see, I now have 112 titles matching my search criteria. I can order these in any way that I like. Because many of our subscribers are interested primarily in newly published works, or newly published reviews, I should say, the default search order is most recent reviews. But you can also order by relevancy, title, author, publisher, publication date, or LC call number. You can even apply a secondary sort if you wish. For instance, most recent, then sorted by publisher. And you can reverse any search order by clicking on this A to Z icon right here. Choose the number of results you wish to display on the page here. Clear your results, that is, clear all of these areas here by clicking Clear Results. When you first run a search, the results are displayed, as you can see here, in an abbreviated form for rapid identification. In this abbreviated mode, you can see the title of the work, of course, its author, publisher, publication year, pub data, ISBNs, suggested retail price, and the LC call number. Clicking on Show More exposes the entire text of the entry, and to click all the reviews on a search results page, click Expand All. In expanded mode, you can see the review text and all the additional fields, such as the reviewer's name, which is here, the readership level, whether it's an interdisciplinary subject or not, subject, choice issue, choice review number, etc. Now, the cool thing about this, for those of you who are film buffs and use Internet Movie Database, IMDb, a lot, if you click on the author name, the database will reorganize itself to show you all the works by that author. Similarly, for the LC class number, or for the reviewer, or for the subject. From either the abbreviated or the expanded mode, you can view the work in WorldCat by choosing that option from the drop-down gear menu at the right-hand side of the screen. Finally, if you click on the title of the work, let's go back. If you click on the title of the work here, the review will open in a page like this, which is ideal for printing if you only want to print one review at a time. Okay, let's go back to the search results page. Now I want to create a list of several of the titles on this page. To do so, I click the checkbox next to the titles that I wish to select. To select all the titles on the page, I click here, select all. Next, click on the Create a New List icon. That's this icon right here. Name your list and click Create. If you plan to share the list with others, it's a good idea to write some brief explanatory text in here. The parameters for creating the list, the date it was created, the people you intend to see it, whatever. And then you can add additional titles to the list at any time by selecting them. For instance, here I've selected Rousseau's Critique of Inequality, right? And clicking here, add selection to an existing list. After you've made your list, you access it from, guess what? The Lists drop-down menu at the top of the page. You go to Lists, click on the list that you have created. There's a lot you can do with lists, and the key to doing it is right here at the gear menu where you see the arrow on the right-hand side of the page. Let's take a moment to take a look at these. Lists you've created for yourself are all well and good, but many people will want to share their lists with their colleagues. That's what Manage Users is for. When you click on Manage Users, you will see everyone at your institution with an account on the system. You can choose the people with whom you wish to share and specify their permissions on your list using the drop-down menu here. The default, of course, is none, which keeps your list private, but you can also grant permission to read, modify, or own the list. In other words, you can give permission to others to read your list, allow them to add or delete titles with modify, or share ownership of the list with others, giving them the ability to add or delete users with owner. After you've chosen the list users, click Save at the bottom of the page. The minute you do this, that person or the persons that you've selected above will receive an email advising them of the fact, which brings up an important point. Obviously, you can only share your list with account holders, that is, people who have created individual accounts on the system. So if you wish to share your list with someone at your institution who has not yet created an account, at least for now, you'll need to contact that person directly and ask them to do so. You've already seen how easy it is to do that. You simply go in and create a username and password. But nonetheless, if this proves to be a popular feature, we will probably add a Invite User button here and save you all a lot of trouble. Over time, the lists you create and the lists shared with you may become quite numerous, and you'll want to batch them in some way to make them easier to find. For instance, you might want to batch all the lists you have created for a given publication year, or all the lists you have created in a given subject area. To do so, create a group by clicking on Groups right here in the drop-down list. Click Create a new group, name it, and click Save. After you've created a group, add your lists to it by clicking Add List to Group on the Gear menu. And after you've done this, find your list by looking in the Group menu under the Lists drop-down. Be right here. Another way to share a list is by downloading it to an Excel spreadsheet and then emailing the file to your colleague. This is a lot clunkier than simply sharing the list, and the downloaded record includes only publication data, not the review text. So obviously encouraging your colleagues to create personal accounts on the system is the preferable alternative. Download a list by choosing that option from the Gear menu. Yet another way to share a list is by creating a card stack. And this function is so useful and so new that I want to spend several minutes walking you through it. Some of you may still subscribe to choice reviews on printed cards. Actually, about 290 libraries still subscribe to our card service. Perhaps you did so at some point in the past. In any case, you'll recall that the great virtue of this format is the ability to batch reviews on a given topic. Let's say, for the sake of example, political science, and send all and only those reviews to that academic department. Faculty members there sort through the cards and choose the titles they recommend that the library acquire. Essentially, the physical cards allow you to poll others regarding their preferences. It's a bit tedious, but it's worked for a long time. CardStack is a virtual replication of that process, but without the constraining factors of physical delivery. So let's say you want to send the list we created earlier to the faculty member in political science teaching a course this semester on 18th and 19th century European political thought. New works that include discussions of Jean-Jacques Rousseau might be of interest to her, so you decide to send her a card stack. You create a card stack by first creating a list and then simply transitioning that list to a card stack. Here is the Rousseau list we created a few moments ago. Click on the list title and then choose Create Card Stack from the Gear menu. On the Create Card Stack page, you name the stack and preferably write a description of the content so the recipient knows what to do with it. Below the description field is the actual list you created earlier, in this case the titles in political theory containing references to Rousseau. And below that list is a list of eligible recipients. As before, these are the people at your institution who have created accounts, individual child accounts that allow you to communicate with them. For each person on the list, you can choose to give them voting privileges only, as here, or you can allow them to manage the stack, which means add or delete titles from it. Choose the person or persons you wish to send the stack to, assign them permission levels, and click Transition to Card Stack at the bottom of the page. As soon as you do this, once again, the person or persons you've chosen to receive this stack get an email notifying them of the action. Now let's pretend you're the recipient of the card stack. Following the instructions on the email you just got, you log into your Choice Reviews account and click on Card Stacks from the drop-down menu. Voila! Here is the Rousseau stack. Click on Vote to open each title, read the review, and cast your vote. In this case, no, abstain, or yes. And of course, you can add comments as well. Down at the bottom here, write your comment and click Add Comment. Meanwhile, back at the library, the owner of the card stack opens the stack and tallies the votes cast by looking at the results at the bottom left of each record, right there. And you can see the yeses, the abstains, and the nos, also an indication of the number of comments. If you wish to read the individual comments, you simply open the title itself and the comments will appear. So in other words, CardStack is a low-impact, highly efficient way to gather information and share opinions about the titles in choice reviews. We're going to be paying particular attention to this function in the coming months to see how it can be improved. Again, probably around the invitation function. So please let us know your comments as often and as early as you can. We all have searches we need to run more than once, particularly when we're looking for new titles in a specific area. And choice reviews make saving these searches very, very easy indeed, much easier than before. Let's say I want to be able to run a search for reference titles in science and technology that are, I don't know if you can read this or not, that are appropriate for upper division undergraduates. And I want to be able to run it multiple times so that each time I do, I can apply a different publication date filter. Here I've run the search, and I've found 1,631 titles. I then click on this icon right here, the little magnifying glass, which is Save Your Search Criteria. And in what I hope is a familiar process right now, I name that search, write a brief description, and save it. As you might expect, I find my Save Search Criteria in the list menu under my Saved Searches and Alerts. Now, suppose I want to be able to learn of any newly published reviews within a few days of their publication that satisfy those same search criteria. You can have the system perform a saved search for you at either 7 or 30-day intervals by choosing the interval from the Set Alert drop-down box directly under the search title, which is right there. Ta-da! We're exceptionally proud of this part. Many of you order books from Yankee Book Peddler's Gobi platform. Thanks now to a special arrangement with YBP, it's possible for you to send up to 100 titles at a time directly from Choice Reviews to your Gobi cart. In order to do so, you need to be logged into your Gobi account before sending the list across. If you're not logged into your Gobi account, it will ask you to do so, so really there's not much difference. You can send titles to your Gobi cart either one at a time or in batches via a list, keeping in mind that for the time being the list can only be 100 titles. To send a single title to Gobi, click the Gear menu and choose Add to Gobi Cart. Sending lists works exactly the same way. Choose a list from the List menu and select the Gobi menu item from the Gear menu. This is another function we're going to be watching very closely. Right now we pass these lists over to YBP through the URL, but if a lot of people are using this, I think what we'll do is we'll write an API that allows Gobi to look directly into our system. Okay, this is the last thing we're going to talk about today, advanced search. Really very little new here. It's pretty much self-explanatory. The available functions are highly familiar to anybody who uses the web with any frequency, which means you. To open advanced search, click on the down arrow next to the search box. And the search boxes themselves are pretty self-explanatory. The top half of the screen is devoted to specific fields to be searched: title, author, publisher, LC class range, copyright year, or copyright year range. Okay. Keep in mind that you can combine searches in multiple fields, like this one for titles from Cambridge University Press published in 2015. And you can combine that search with yet others, like this one that applies a facet for philosophy titles to the CUP titles published in 2015. The search boxes at the lower half of the advanced search box search all fields. So when you type a word or words in these, they look at the full text of every record. And finally, for those of you who want to search for reviews in a specific print issue, use the fields at the very bottom of the screen. You've seen this slide before. I just want to end by emphasizing what I consider to be the two salient points of this presentation, other than the nuts and bolts of using the system. The first is that choice reviews should be thought of as a database, not as a journal. We've all sort of fallen into the habit of referring to choice eponymously as both as the group that creates the journal called Choice. And actually, of course, Choice is now a publishing unit and has a portfolio of products that are much wider than just our reviews for collection development. But nonetheless, Choice Reviews is a database, 200,000 or so reviews dating over a quarter of a century. And this leads me to my other point, which I'll say once again, and that is that it is not simply a collection development tool. It's a bibliographic database that can be used by librarians at the reference desk, for instance, but also by students and faculty. And so I encourage each of you to encourage your library patrons to use Choice Reviews whenever possible and to publicize that fact to them and to move Choice Reviews out in front of the desk where it can be of benefit to the entire university community. Because our authentication is by IP range, everyone in the university on the network can use Choice Reviews. We think it's a tremendous asset and a tremendous tool, and we hope you'll encourage as many people as possible to use it. That's about it for my presentation. I know it's a little short, but quite frankly, there isn't a lot to say beyond what I've said because the system itself is so easy and I believe self-explanatory in most respects. This webinar and also video tutorials are available, or the webinar will be available, and the videos already are, on the Choice Media channel on YouTube. And I also encourage you to look at the Quick Start Guide, again available at the question mark icon up on the nav bar in Choice Reviews. And so, having said that, I will turn it over to the question part of the session.
All right, we do have a few questions here for you, Mark.
Okay.
Megan from Beloit College asked earlier in the presentation, is LC the only classification option for display?
Sure. Other than our proprietary system, the two classification or the two taxonomic systems are our proprietary system. If somebody can get me back to the looking at these facets here on the left, okay, and LC, no others, no.
All right, thanks. And Frida from Decorah, Iowa asks, is there a limit to the number of users at an institution? We're a small college. Okay. All right.
Absolutely none. No. All right. We want as many people as possible to use it. We want you to break our servers.
And Karen Whistler asks, she says, I don't quite understand the sharing of card stacks. If I want to share with the teaching faculty, do they have to already be registered, or can I just type in their email address and send it to them?
Regrettably, for the moment, they have to already be registered. It's the only way the system knows how to send the stack. So, as clunky as it seems for the moment, you should probably, text or email that person and ask them to create an account. Because they're at your institution and because they're inside the IP range, all they have to do is go to create account and create a username and password, and then they're in.
Okay. Let's look here. Someone has asked, can you save to a Gobi folder and not just to the cart?
I don't, I'm afraid I don't know the answer to that question, but I'll find out. I suspect that you can save to a folder once you're inside Gobi, but I don't know that for a fact, and I'll check.
Okay, thank you. And Rachel from Memphis, Tennessee, is also interested in being able to email lists to faculty even if they don't have an account, and seconds Karen's thoughts on that.
For people who don't have an account, the best way to email it, although it's not ideal, of course, is to download the list to an Excel file and email it to them that way. Basically, the system is built to get people to register on Choice Reviews so that they're using Choice Reviews and taking advantage of its functions and sharing information and comments with one another.
And Frida from Decorah, Iowa asks, and I think several people have asked this question as well, do you anticipate continuing to produce the print choice cards and the print journal going forward?
Yes, we do. Absolutely. We will not stop either one until the demand for them um, becomes next to zero. No, they're they're useful formats. They're formats that many people love and have been attached to for a long time, and have developed workflows around. And we're perfectly happy to continue doing them.
Great. And Susan from South Bend, Indiana asks, can we create accounts for our faculty and just send them the login information? Or
The account administrator can create accounts for others. So there is for every institution there is an account administrator, but the account administrator cannot create the password. The password is private and is unique to the individual. So the administrator can set up an account all right, but at the end the user has to go in and create the password. User herself.
great.
It's covered in the Quick Start Guide, by the way, down in the administrator function.
All right. So Julie from Oakwood, Georgia asks, or says, and winds up with a question. In CRO3 Advanced Search, you can also search by subject heading and recommendation level. It doesn't look like these options are available in Advanced Search here. Am I missing something?
They're not in Advanced Search because you can use facets to do it instead. And the facets are faster. The facets are filters, obviously, so you can combine multiple facets in order to narrow your filters very specifically.
And
Let me just give you an example. I mean, just looking at the screen here now, you can choose Slavic literature. And, well, I'm not going to be able to move down the screen here, but then you could choose a reading level and a recommendation level, and then you could even then you could go to advanced search and choose a date range. So you can combine search parameters from various modalities.
all right, we've got a few more questions coming through. Val from Santa Fe, New Mexico asks, can we get access to the e-version of our paper subscription with our paper subscription of choice?
An e-version of the paper subscription exists as a tablet app. There is no other e-version. But the tablet is available to any subscriber to to choice, print or digital, at no charge. All you have to do is go to the Play Store or the iTunes Store and look for Choice Reviews, download the app, and there you have it. It's very handsome, by the way. In many respects, it's easier to use the tablet than it is to use print, although a little more tedious because 550 reviews on screens is not quite so friendly as we're used to in a digital environment.
And I'm going to attempt this name. Chisato from Walnut,
Yep.
California asks, can you make the URL HTTPS instead of HTTP?
I will check to see. I don't know the answer to that question. Obviously, there's a security layer involved there. I'm not sure. I would have to know how necessary something like that is. But if it's doable and it seems to fill a valuable function, then certainly we will.
All right. And Kathleen from Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Oh, wait,
Yes, go ahead.
Mark, I want to interrupt because I say that Chisato has another very important question. Yes, all CRO3 users need to be off CRO3 by August 31st, and they need to create a new account. That is to say, a new personal account on the new system. The institutional account was for your institution was automatically created, but your personal account needs to be recreated by you, and information from one system is not portable into the other. That's just a limitation of technology. The Highwire system, you need to download that information or print it off or whatever you're going to do. And all of this needs to be done by the end of August, because on the 31st of August, CR03 will go dark.
All right. And Kathleen Daniels points out that they did, in fact, try moving a title to Gobi, and it looks like it opens in Gobi, and you can either move it to a folder or put it directly into the cart.
Terrific. So, thank you.
And Nan from Grand Rapids, Michigan, which I will say is my hometown, so shout out to Grand Rapids, asks, to whom should we address suggestions for enhancements?
You should write to tellchoice, that's all one word, at ala-choice.org. That will come to me. Tellchoice at ala-choice.org.
And Germano from Decorah, Iowa asks, can I search by choice review number?
You can. You have to use advanced search and simply type it in one of the text boxes.
And Pamela from Springfield, Illinois asks that we repeat how to access the archive of this presentation. And if Go
yeah,
ahead.
Mark, you want, well, we
or I can tell. I can easily tell as well.
We have Choice has a channel on YouTube. It's called the Choice Review. What is it? Choice Media Channel?
Yep, it is called the Choice Media Channel.
Choice Media Channel. This webinar will be on the media channel, I guess, within 48 hours.
Yep, and more typically within 24. So
24, okay. And our video tutorials are also, there are 4 video tutorials that we have created. These are little 2.5-minute screen animations. They're also on our media channel.
Great. And it looks like our next question is from Linda in Spokane, Washington. Do you need to have a search to start with to narrow finding reviews by subject?
No, you do not. You can, a couple things you can do. From the search bar, you can go to the nav bar at the top. Let me see if I can grab, yes, okay. Right here. When you click on that, there's a drop down and it has the major subject headings there. You can click on them to immediately go to a search results page. The other thing that you can do is simply put your cursor here and click here. And it will open the search results page with all 195,000 results spread out in front of you. And then you can apply whatever filter, facet, or search you wish.
And Shelley from Carrollton, Georgia asks, I don't see a sort primary or secondary for recommendation level, like essential or highly recommended. And she states simply, I'd like to see that.
In the meantime, use the facets, because we have facets for each of the recommendation levels. So you can start with highly essential, highly recommended, recommended, etc., all the way down to not recommended.
And Linda from Spokane, Washington, again asks, have you sent the new address and information out to subscribers? And she says, we're still linking to the old version.
That information is going out, I believe, on Monday. We're waiting to get all of the email addresses for the thousands of individual subscribers from our current providers. So the answer is we may do that in 2 stages. The account administrators will be notified on Monday, and everyone else will be notified in the days following that. We don't we don't have the individual email addresses for the so-called child accounts at each institution. We're getting those from Highwire.
And it looks like we may have missed a question that a few folks are interested in knowing the answer to. Um, Luveller from Petersburg, Virginia asks about the easy proxy question, and then Kathleen Daniels, I believe, from Minneapolis, Minnesota, has asked, can we get the easy proxy configuration for the new platform?
Once again, I'll have to check with our developers about that. Unfortunately, I'm not able to answer that question.
All right. And Jean from Cedar Falls, Iowa asks, is it obvious whether we're on the CR03 version or on the new choice reviews?
Oh, yes. Excuse me. More than obvious. The CR03, the old version, which has about 40 days to live now, looks so unlike what you see on the screen now that you should be able to recognize it instantly, but you will certainly recognize it from the URL, which is cro3.org, as opposed to choicereviews.org, which is the URL for the new service.
All right. And Julie from Oakwood, Georgia asks, so if you were searching for all essential books within a subject like political science during 2015, how would you go about starting that search?
I'd probably choose political science as a facet. And then I would go to advanced search, and in the date range, I would type 2015 to 2015. What was the other part of the search? Were there three parameters or two? I can't remember. I'm
Nope, I
sorry.
believe it's just
Yeah,
two. So
that's what I would do. Yeah, I would do one then the other in either order. By the way, as you can see, actually, if you're looking at the screen right now, you can see I did one here, 2015. Publisher Cambridge. Actually, I'm sorry, that was a search. But you can apply any of these facets to a search here, and it will simply add the facet to the search string.
And we have a few more questions coming through that
Sure.
we're putting into the parking lot to go through. Chisato asks, when I try to make an account, it says that I already have an account. Is that because I'm an administrator?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yes.
And Nishia from
Chisato, if you need to call me directly, I can figure out what the issue is there if there's any other problem.
Great. And Nisia from San Antonio, Texas asks, is it okay to update to the new URL now?
We prefer it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, immediately. Your institution is already authenticated. All you have to do now is set up your personal account.
Okay. And Nan from Grand Rapids, Michigan asks, is the new system accessible for handicapped screen readers?
Screen readers can definitely, yes. The answer in a general sense is yes. We have not tested it against specific readers. And there are images, but we do have alt tags in for those as well.
All right. And Julie from Oakwood, Georgia asks, how do you choose a facet from the home page?
I wish I had access to the screen here. Just a moment. Julie, please be patient while I go back to the beginning. This is a real drawback, I know. Okay, from the home page, this is your, from this drop-down menu here, this is your best access to the facets without being on the search results page itself. Obviously, this isn't all the facets. It's only the major subject headings. If you want to go directly to the others, put your cursor here and hit enter and go to the page, go to the full screen or the full display of all 195,000 titles, reviews.
All right. And Allison from Scottsbluff asks, we are a print subscriber. How can I get pricing on the e-version?
Allison, I'll send you pricing. Actually, let me give you a telephone number. Excuse me. Okay. 860-347-6933, extension 123. Customer service. They will be happy to help you.
All right. And Todd from Hartsville, South Carolina asks, how does one become an administrator? Our previous choice administrator has retired.
Again, if you would let customer service know, the administrator is typically the person who, when we created it, when we accept a subscription, we have a license agreement, and on that license agreement, there's a space for the administrator's name and email address, and that's how we get it. So one person is designated as the administrator of the account. If that person has retired, then let our customer service representative know, and a new administrator will be appointed. Basically, the administrator of your choosing.
Great. So Jacques from Portsmouth, Virginia asks, any reason why I would get a blank screen when I try the new URL? I think a few folks have tried it while we've been speaking about it and haven't been able to get access to it.
It's been up and running for 2 months now. www.choicereviews.org. It's running now. I'm in it.
And Shelley from Tallahassee says, I think it's lagging now. I'm having a hard time too. So there may be something going on with the site.
Interesting. Okay.
And Nan from Grand Rapids, Michigan asks, will you be testing it soon? I think this is in regard to the screen reader.
I will look into that. Nan, if you would let us know which screen readers you want tested, we will do that. There are a lot of them out there, as you know. And generally speaking, they're fairly robust and will read pretty much everything on the screen. We have not tested it against individual applications.
And Shisato from Walnut, California asks, I'm curious about the choice to have the search of 2 or more words or'd rather than anded.
That's a setting on the Solr search engine. Solr, of course, is a very common search engine used on the web. And I would guess, I would have to say that it's probably because or will return more results than and, obviously, and it is a more common modality in web searches. If you want to type and, of course, you can certainly do that, and I would use the advanced search function where in the box that says and.
And it looks like David from Westminster, Maryland has the question, if CR03 users have accounts with saved searches, alerts, or lists, will those transition to the new interface?
No, they will not. They're completely different systems on different servers and different architecture. So unfortunately, you're going to have to either copy them out or reconstruct them.
And Michelle from St. Joseph, Missouri asks, do both http://choicereviews.org and the www.choicereviews.org work? Are they both synonymous, essentially, I believe
Yeah.
is the question.
I just typed in the HTTP version and it worked fine.
Okay.
So yes, they both appear to work.
All right. So I believe we've come to the end of the questions, unless there are any additional questions lingering out there that folks would like to type into the chat box.
By
If
all
not,
means, please get in touch with me directly, but use the Tell Choice email address because that way I'll know what it's about, and those get segregated and given prompt attention. So be in touch. We have an ongoing relationship with our developers. We have a development team out in Santa Cruz, California that has done a terrific job on this in little more than 5 months' time, I might add. And we are already lining them up to make improvements and modifications to the system. And as many of you may know, probably next spring, our collaboration with the Charleston Company will result in a similar product, basically using a similar architecture and user interface for a website or a database designed to review academic databases. We're calling it CC Advisor in deference both to Choice and the Charleston Company. That will be out in the spring. So we're really trying to leverage our investment in this platform and also in the back-end technology that we have here at Choice to create as many services for academic librarians as possible.
great. Well, thank you, Mark. I feel like I should call you Mark C. or Mark Cummings or something to differentiate you from myself.
Like the third grade, yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. In fact, just like that.
yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time to explain the new choice reviews to us. I'd like to take a moment to give you a virtual round of applause. So thank you again. And I'd like to thank the folks who have been here in the room with us. Thank you for spending time with us today and for listening to what we had to say about choice reviews.
Thank you all. Talk to you soon, I hope.
Thank you. Bye-bye.